You know, when you hear the word dementia, your mind probably goes to a pretty dark place, right? It feels like a one-way street, a steady decline with no U-turns. But what if, for some people, there was a road back? We're about to look at a condition that can look and feel a whole lot like Alzheimer's, but, and this is a huge but, it might just be reversible.
And that's the big question we're diving into today. It's a question that's just brimming with hope for thousands of families out there. And the answer? Well, it doesn't lie in some fancy new drug or a super complex brain scan. Nope. The very first clue, the key that can unlock this entire mystery, is hidden in something we see every single day, the way a person walks.
All right, so what is this condition that's basically hiding in plain sight? Let's go ahead and pull back the curtain on this medical mystery.
It's called idiopathic normal pressure hydrocephalus, or let's just say INPH for short. It's a mouthful, I know, but the basic idea is actually pretty simple. I want you to think of it like a plumbing problem in the brain. You've got this stuff called cerebrospinal fluid that's supposed to cushion the brain, but in INPH, it just isn't draining the way it should. This backup creates this gentle but constant pressure that leads to a very specific set of symptoms. And the hopeful part? Well, plumbing problems can often be fixed.
So these three symptoms are what's known as the Hakim-Adams triad. But here's the thing. They don't all just pop up at once. While the memory problems and the incontinence can show up later, the very first red flag, the clue that can appear years before anything else, is a really specific problem with walking.
And this is exactly why getting the diagnosis right is so important. I mean, the symptoms overlap a ton with other big neurodegenerative diseases, so it gets misdiagnosed all the time. But here's the game changer. Unlike those other conditions, the symptoms of INPH can be dramatically improved with the right treatment. We're not just talking about managing a disease here, we're talking about potentially reversing it.
Okay, so let's zero in on that first clue, that walk. This isn't just, a general slowness or being a bit unsteady on your feet. It is a really unique and telling pattern that helps set INPH apart from pretty much everything else.
Patients often describe this really bizarre sensation. They say it feels like their feet are literally glued to the floor, which is where this term magnetic gait comes from. You can just picture it, right? A wide stance for support, these short, shuffling steps, and a real difficulty just lifting the feet off the ground. Even something as simple as turning around becomes a slow, careful series of tiny little steps. Now that is the walk that should make a doctor stop and think, maybe this isn't Alzheimer's or Parkinson's.
So a doctor sees this magnetic walk and they start to suspect INPH. How do they actually confirm it? Well, the answer is a beautifully simple and incredibly decisive experiment.
It's called a cerebrospinal fluid tap test, or CSFTT. And get this, it's more than just a diagnostic tool. It's basically a preview of what the treatment could do. The logic is just so simple and elegant. If having too much fluid is causing the problem, then what happens if we just drain some of it away?
The whole process is really just a simple before and after experiment. First, clinicians record exactly how the patient is walking, their speed, their stride, all of it. Then, they do a lumbar puncture, a spinal tap, and they drain a good amount of that excess fluid, which instantly relieves some of that pressure on the brain. The patient hangs out for about 24 hours, and then comes the moment of truth. They walk again. Did anything change?
And the results of that simple test? Well, they can be absolutely life-changing. The data from before and after the tap test tells a very, very clear story.
I mean, the improvement can be immediate and just dramatic. Clinicians are on the lookout for two key things: a faster walking speed and a longer stride length. Patients also tend to get a lot more stable, spending less time in that unsteady double support phase where both feet are on the ground. When these numbers get better, it's a huge sign that they're on the right track.
And listen, we are not talking about some subtle, tiny improvement here. One major review found that just 24 hours after this test, patients' walking speed shot up by an average of nearly 24%. Can you imagine that? Being able to walk almost a quarter faster just one day later? That is the incredible predictive power of this procedure.
So this temporary improvement is way more than just a good sign. It's the green light for a permanent fix. Let's see how this one little test leads directly to the long-term treatment.
A positive tap test basically tells doctors, go. It's the green light for a permanent solution called a ventriculoperitoneal shunt. The best way to think of it is as a permanent pressure release valve for the brain. It's just this thin little tube that continuously drains that excess fluid away to another part of the body, like the abdomen, where it can be safely absorbed. This keeps the pressure in the brain stable for good.
This chart just lays out the patient's journey perfectly. You start at the baseline. Then, that TAP test gives you a really significant boost in function, which confirms the diagnosis. But look at the jump after the shunt surgery. It provides a much larger and, most importantly, permanent recovery. That simple temporary test is literally the key that unlocks this profound, life-altering improvement.
So it seems like the case is solved, right? We've got the clue, we've got the test, and we've got the solution. But there's one final piece to this mystery: perfecting the process itself.
And the researchers in our source paper really put it perfectly. They say that while looking at someone's walk is absolutely central to diagnosing INPH, the methods just aren't uniform. There's a big piece missing: a globally accepted, standardized way of doing things.
The challenges are pretty clear when you lay them out. Different clinics will remove different amounts of fluid. They'll check on patients at different times after the test. They even use different technologies and different metrics to decide what improvement even looks like. This kind of inconsistency makes it really hard to compare results from different studies, and to refine the process to be as accurate as it possibly can be.
And this really brings us to our final and most critical question. This isn't just some academic debate. Standardizing this process means more accurate diagnoses, it means more patients getting the right treatment, and it means more people getting a real chance to reverse their dementia. And it really makes you wonder, how many lives could be completely transformed just by perfecting the way we measure something as simple as a walk?